Hello everyone, I'm Mother Gladys and I will be talking about post-transcriptional modifications. This presentation would contain a general introduction to post-transcriptional modifications and the three major modifications like 5' capping, polyadenylation and RNA splicing with their reference. Coming to the introduction, so the transcription of DNA occurs in the nucleus of a cell. The DNA gets transcribed as an RNA molecule which is known as the primary RNA that later undergoes modifications and becomes a mature RNA. So this mature RNA travels from the cell's nucleus to the cell cytoplasm where the translation occurs for the synthesis of proteins. The modification of the RNA happens only in the eukaryotes because in prokaryotes there is no need of any modifications as transcription and translation occur simultaneously. There are three major modifications that occur to our RNA molecule known as 5' capping, poly-A tailing and splicing. So the first is 5' capping. So this modifications occurs in the 5' end of the pre-mRNA where a modified nucleotide known as 7-methylguanosine is added and forms a cap. So this modification is catalyzed by capping enzymes. This capping helps in protecting the mRNA from getting degraded by 5' exonuclease enzymes, and it also helps in recognizing the mRNA by ribosomes which are necessary for translation. So the mechanism involved in 5' capping has three major steps. The first step is where the 5' triphosphate end gets hydrolyzed to yield 5' diphosphate. So this reaction is catalyzed by RNA 5' triphosphatase. So the second step is where guanine monophosphate is added to the diphosphate end and thereby forms an unusual linkage known as 5' triphosphate linkage. This reaction is catalyzed by the enzyme guanyl transferase. The third step is where a methyl group is added to the guanine and thereby 7-methylguanosine cap is formed. So this region is known as cap0 and the enzyme that brings about this reaction is known as RNA methyltransferase. This enzyme also adds methyl group to two adjacent nucleotides and those regions are called cap1 and cap2 respectively. The significance of 5' capping include it can protect the mRNA from 5' exonucleases. It acts as a unique identifier that can recruit proteins that bring about mRNA splicing and poly-A tailing. It also helps in transporting the mRNA from the nucleus to the cell cytoplasm. It also acts as a signal for the ribosome to identify the mRNA molecule. The next modification is 3' polyadenylation, where a long chain of adenine nucleotides is added to the mRNA at the 3' end. So there are about 100 to 250 adenine residues that get added by the enzyme poly-A polymerase. So this poly-A tailing tends to increase the stability of the mRNA molecule when transported to the cytoplasm. The mechanism involved in poly-A tailing is simple and occurs in just two steps. The first step is the cleavage of the mRNA at poly-A site. So this poly-A site is located between two polyadenylation signal sequences which is highly conserved. The first signal sequence is double A, U, triple A. So this sequence is located 10 to 30 nucleotides upstream the poly-A site, whereas the second signal sequence is located 20 to 40 nucleotides downstream of the poly-A site and it is rich in guanine and uracil. There are a set of proteins that tend to recognize the signal sequences and form a complex that will cleave the mRNA 20 nucleotides downstream of the first signal sequence, that is double A, U, triple A. The next step involved is the addition of adenine nucleotides. by the enzyme poly-A polymerase to 3' end of the mRNA. So the significance of poly-A tailing is that it protects the mRNA from getting degraded by the 3' exonucleases. It also increases the stability of the mRNA. It also helps in transporting the mRNA from the nucleus to the cell cytoplasm. It also helps in termination of translation. The last modification is RNA splicing. So in this process, the introns are removed from the mRNA and the exons are joined together and form a mature RNA, which can act as a template for protein synthesis. So this process of splicing occurs in a series of reactions that are catalyzed by spliceosomes. So spliceosomes is a complex made up of small nuclear ribonucleoproteins, which are short form of SNRPs. So there are about 5 types of SNRPs which have their own function contributed. Like U1 can detect the 5' splice site that is rich in GU. U2 can help in movement of the branch site towards 5' splice site. U4 can inhibit the U6 SNRP, whereas U6 can separate the introns from exons and form a Lariat structure. U5 helps in the movement of the 5' exon towards the 3' exon. The mechanism by which splicing occurs goes like this. First, the U1 SNP binds to the intron's 5' bind site. Next, U2 SNP binds to the branch point sequence of the intron that is located in the middle, and it is usually an adenine residue. Next, there are 3 SNPs, namely U4, U6 and U5, that combine and form a unit and then bind to U2. So this complex, that is U4, U6 and U5 SNPs along with U1, binds to the U2 SNP and then forms a loop-like structure. This loop-like structure is known as a lariat. Because of this lariat, the 5' splice site comes closer to the 3' splice site. At this stage, U4 SNP detaches itself to activate the spliceosome, and therefore the splice sites are broken and the intron gets removed as a lariat. So the exons get ligated because they have a free hydroxyl and phosphate group in them, and this type of process takes place between every 2 exons in a gene. The significance of RNA splicing is that it is really essential to exclude the introns, as they do not code for any proteins and they can also interfere with the normal proteins that are synthesized from the exons. As in eukaryotes, the mRNA is monocistronic, and it is really crucial to remove the introns as it can synthesize only the required type of protein and it can be functional. So RNA splicing can also bring an evolution in new types of proteins. These are my references. This makes the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening.